It's a very dangerous subject to talk about in public because there are ways to do it, but you have to understand what you've gotten yourself into. But you have to know how to do it correctly. But once you do that, you've opted out of a system, and that system runs the planet, and you just dropped out. You just dropped off. So now, you've got certain privileges now. The federal government has no jurisdiction over you. If they stop you, and see, that's another problem with state citizenship, is because you cannot have a driver's license, you cannot have anything on your car, you can't have any kind of identification that connects you to the federal system. That being the case, once you opt out of the federal system, you're going to be out there by yourself, and there's no one going to be able to help you on anything. However, I would go on to say this. I know many people who are state citizens today, and they're doing it somehow. I don't know how they're doing it, but they're doing it. I know doctors who are state citizens. I know dentists who are state citizens. People who own dealerships who are state citizens. They are doing it lawfully and legally. And I was going to add the problem, though. Another problem, very big, is that if you are a state citizen, you cannot have a driver's license or a tag on your car. So if you drive out into the street with no license and no tag on the car, and you don't need insurance because that's only federal, you don't need insurance, and so you are stopped. You have no license, no tag on your car, and no insurance. You go into jail, and you can show them all the paperwork that you're a state citizen. The cops can't read. They are goofy. The cops are thugs. They don't care about what the law says. The police in America are nothing more than the heavy arm, like the mafia. They're the street soldiers.
They're the enforcers.
They're the enforcers. That's why that's called the armed forces. So that's why cops today are there for one reason, to make sure you are in compliance. They don't ask you, they don't know what the law is. Half of them can't read. So they don't know what the law is. They don't care about the law. All they know is that they're being paid a salary to do one thing, to make sure you're in compliance with Berlin. They're making sure you're in compliance with the powers that be. And you say, well, why are you as an American treating me, a fellow American? They're not Americans. They're cops. They don't give a damn about America. They don't care about your rights. You don't have any rights. As a U.S. citizen, you have no rights. You do not have access to the Constitution or the Bill of Rights. That's in the law books. So if you say that you are a U.S. citizen, you, by law, do not have access to the Constitution or the Bill of Rights. So that's why it always amazes me when I'm hearing people who are going to court and they're going to demand this and that because they have a constitutional right. Read the book, read the law books. It says if you are a U.S. citizen, you have no recourse to the Constitution or the Bill of Rights. So don't even bring it up. You are a U.S. citizen. That means you are an employee of my corporation. You just sit down and shut up. When you're in court, you got nothing to say. The problem is that if you become a state citizen and you don't have the driver's license or whatever, you're going to get stopped and you're going to go to jail. Now, you'll be in there for about 6 weeks until they finally get you into court. And then if you know how, if you're smart enough to know how to talk, and you've got the documents and you can show the judge, I am lawfully, according to your law, I am a California state citizen. I'm a Nevada state citizen, and here are the documents, and you enter that into the court, the judge will always say, you're right, the case is dismissed, because you're right, you are a state citizen, and the judge has no jurisdiction over you, and so he releases you. Yeah, but you were sitting in jail for 6 weeks waiting for that, and now you finally won the case, which you will. You get in the car to go home, another cop's going to stop you. Start all over again. You're not even going home. You're going back to jail. Now it starts all over again. So you're going to be in there for another 6 weeks until it will never stop, because there's always going to be some cop out there who cannot read. He doesn't know anything about law. He has no comprehension of what you're talking about, sovereignty or state citizen. That's all, that's all Greek to him. All he knows is you going to jail. That's all he knows. He gets paid to do one thing, throw you in jail. That's it. You got a problem with that? Speak up. But you can become a state citizen. But as I said, there are people who are doing it, who know how to do it correctly. But I don't think I would bother with it, because I'm too old to be going to jail every time you turn around. Every time you go out in the street, you're going to get stopped by a cop, and you don't know. He's just going to arrest you. There are a lot of good cops, but most of them, but I've seen articles where certain guys are turned down from the police department because they were too bright. One guy sued the police department because he has such a great average, such a great high IQ, And they said, no, we can't use you. People who are highly intelligent, you will not get a job at the police department.
So
That's a fact. Unless, of course, they need you up in upstairs, you know. But generally speaking, the cops you'll meet, you know, they're just guys doing their job. But they're not. Nobody claims that they're brilliant. You know, they're just guys doing their job, and their job is very simple: to beat you up and make sure you're in compliance. That's it. In compliance with the Führer. The Führer in Berlin said that you have to do this and that, and you got to be in compliance. Why? Because you're not a sovereign. You're not an American. You're a U.S. citizen. You're not an American. There's a big difference between being an American and being a U.S. citizen. If you talk to the Internal Revenue, there's a reason why it's called internal revenue. It doesn't apply to external, outside of the corporation. It only applies to inside the corporation. And since you are an employee of the corporation, then you are under the jurisdiction of the Internal Revenue, IRS. Internal Revenue, IRS, and the Federal Reserve are privately owned companies under the main corporation called the U.S. Corporation. It's a privately owned company. Privately owned companies, corporations. If you talk to an Internal Revenue agent and tell them that you don't want to deal with the corporation, with the federal corporation, you want to deal with the American Republic, they will tell you, if you want to deal with the American Republic, that's different. You have to call this number in Philadelphia. It's in Pennsylvania. You call this number in Philadelphia and tell them that you want to deal directly with the United States of America Republic, not the corporation. And so they will tell you that there are two different governments going on right now. There is the U.S. government, which is a privately owned corporation, incorporated in 1871, called United States Corporation. And then there is the United States of America, the Republic. But that's in Philadelphia. And incidentally, did you know that the Federal Reserve and the Internal Revenue, their home office is in Puerto Rico? Why? The Pirates of the Caribbean. That's why Disney Studios making all these movies with Johnny Depp, the Pirates of the Caribbean. They're telling you something.
The truth is hidden in plain sight, and this is how they hide everything. If you are looking for the knowledge that has been hidden from us, if you want to know the meaning behind these symbols, if you want to know who controls the world, this ebook will literally unveil that to you, and ye shall know the truth, and truth shall set you free.